What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you? I got robbed at gunpoint when I was working alone one night at Subway when I was 16.
My ex-husband and I got into a fight one night. Later, while we were on the way home, he stopped talking and started speeding. He drove into a traffic pylon at 80 miles per hour.
I stopped at a light in a questionable part of town and a strange lady hopped into the passenger seat of my car. She told me to drive her to the ATM and get her some money. I told her that I had forgotten my purse and could not do so. My purse was behind my seat and I was really hoping she wouldn't look around and catch my lie. She kept insisting that I give her money and I kept driving and telling her I couldn't. I'm pretty sure the $20 or so dollars I had in the bank would not have been enough anyway. Finally, I saw a cop car stopped on the side of the road. I pulled up behind it and told her she could either get out then, or I'd start honking my horn to get the cops' attention. She decided to leave. I was pretty shaken by that. I'm not sure what I would have done if I hadn't seen the cop, and she was getting increasingly insistent, and I know I would not have won a fight with her. Also, she took my bag of gummy worms.
Being 19 at a house party in an unfamiliar rural town with mostly people I didn't know. Boyfriend and I were having an argument outside the house and two guys decided to come out and pick a fight. Dropped my boyfriend and started wailing into him, while I tried to pull them off him and scream for help. No one heard me over the sounds of the music, but a friend had noticed the guys follow us out and grabbed some others to come investigate. By the time they got to us, I had ripped some hair out of one guy's head and was balled up over my boyfriend's head and neck trying to protect them while he was unconscious. One guy was trying to pull me off while the other was still kicking my boyfriend. The partygoers pulled the guys off and while I was in hysterics still screaming, they tended to my boyfriend. He woke up after a few minutes, and I wanted to call an ambulance and the police. The only problem was that there was no reception, and the house owners wouldn't give me their phone to use because they'd all been smoking pot and didn't want to get in trouble. I stayed up all night in a small room with my boyfriend watching him to make sure he didn't have a concussion or pass out again or worse. It was an awful night and I've never been more scared. Only took a few minutes but it felt like hours.
Being in a locked bathroom while a fire drill was going off. I was in a halo cast due to having a back surgery, so I couldn't move my head or the middle of my body. I must have been like 5. Being almost paralyzed while that terrible alarm was blaring was terrifying. It felt like imminent doom was approaching and you're left defenseless. Scarred me the rest of my childhood to even into high school.
I had really strong, call of the void, feeling when I was holding a double-barrel shotgun. I basically wanted to shoot myself.
Nearly fell off a cliff when skiing, but got rescued.
An evil rooster chased me as a kid.
I had a car accident last Sunday night. Lost control and ended up in a culvert where I hit a tree head-on. All airbags deployed. Completely destroyed the front end of my subcompact SUV. Managed to get out and crawl up the ditch onto the narrow, dark, 2-lane country road where it was eerily quiet. All in all, a terrifying experience.
Being chased by a group of men on an empty street. I was 17.
Someone broke into our storage shed. Stole barely anything, just a speaker and a handful of coins. But when we caught him in the act, he just slowly walked off and said, "If you follow me, I'll shoot you." It may not sound the scariest, but when you don't know if this person who invaded your home is bluffing about having a gun or not, it is horrifying.
In one of the houses I used to live in, when I was 5 years old or so, my bedroom was next to the attic stairs. As a little kid, they always scared me and I had to have my mom lock it every night. One night, I got into a fight with my older sister, and when I went to bed my mom forgot to lock the attic door. I woke up probably around 2 a.m. to the attic door slightly ajar. I'd say about a foot out. Then I heard heavy ragged breathing at the level of my head, and it came closer and closer to me ear. I was terrified, but I thought it was my sister, so instead of putting my head under the covers I just pretended to be asleep and squeezed my eyes shut as hard as I could. When the voice was right next to my ear I felt a great weight on my chest and it made it hard to breathe and it hurt. And then all of a sudden the pressure stopped and I opened my eyes 5 or so minutes later and the attic door was closed. I didn't tell my sister though because I didn't want to give her the satisfaction that she scared me, so I didn't mention it to her. I also had frequent nightmares at that point in my life which made it rather traumatic to me. I only recently told my family about that, and my mom said that a couple with cancer committed suicide in the attic after being told they only had a few months to live. My sister said she never did that and would never do such a thing. Since I was told about that, I have been a little bit more superstitious than I'd like to admit. Sorry for the paragraph.
Community college did an active shooter drill and the dumbass teacher didn't tell us it was a drill. I learned that day you can't rely on others to STFU and lie low in a situation like that. Soon as everyone started getting nervous, they were talking, lighting up their phones, and just generally making a racket. They had teachers walking in the halls and peering in the rooms to check if we were locked down properly, but at this point we, the students, still weren't sure if it was a drill. So when that first face hovered by the door and peered in, I nearly beeped my pants. Only figured it must be a drill when I saw multiple people were walking in the halls. Edit. Also forgot to mention the reason the teacher didn't tell us was because she forgot there was a drill. So she got the message on her laptop and started panicking. In reality, she was panicking cause she didn't want to get in trouble for missing the drill. But from our perspective, it looked like she was panicking because she got a message saying there was a shooter, or some other threat.
I was in the mental hospital for attempting suicide. While I was sleeping, a male patient came into my room, got on top of me and sexually assaulted me.
I worked for an armored car company. Barely made over $10 an hour and got to handle millions of dollars, and carry a sidearm for my job. I literally only had to qualify at the gun range to carry a weapon. That's it. I was putting about $150,000 in an ATM, when out the corner of my eye, I saw someone run around the corner at full speed towards me. Fight or flight is the real thing. I drew my weapon in a split second and almost killed him. He immediately hit the brakes and put his hands up. Come to find out, the ATM ate his card. He was inside the bank talking to the teller when she told him that I could probably return his card since I just opened up the ATM. He bolted from the bank to catch me before I left. Scared the beep out of me.
I nearly drowned. I was swimming way out in the ocean when a really bad storm came out of nowhere. I was a strong swimmer, but it didn't matter. It felt like my lungs were on fire and being shredded with knives. There was so much sand in the water that I couldn't see. I figured out which way was up by being slammed into the seafloor and swimming in the opposite direction. I was underwater long enough that I lost consciousness, and my last thought was, I'm going to die now and nothing will ever hurt me again. When I came to, I was being dragged up the beach. I coughed and vomited up what felt like more than a liter of sand and seawater. Every time I blew my nose for weeks afterwards, more sand would come out.
8 to 10 Me waking up to a shaky bunk bed. I was top bunk, at 2 a.m. to hear your siblings' moans, as well their partners.
I was walking down a sidewalk, just about to cross a trolley track. My friend pulled me back, and the trolley drove on just a few feet ahead of me. Really saved my life. Taught me to keep my head up, and look both ways, no matter how sad or down I'm feeling that day.
I was crawling into an abandoned mine and bumped into some support timbers with my hand and knocked them over. I legitimately thought that I was going to die. Luckily they were not weight-bearing, otherwise the story probably would have ended differently.
Was stupidly free climbing a big rock in Sedona and lost traction and just started to slide down and couldn't stop myself. There was a small ledge with a cactus on it beneath the rock and then a drop of at least 100 feet. That cactus stopped me and likely saved my life.
We were in Baghdad. 06, Sadr City was a mess. We got tasked out on a normal foot patrol. I was a gunner and a sniper took a shot at me and it hit what we called the chicken shield. The shield in front of my 50 and saw. It scared the ever-living beep out of me. One more. It was about 02 in the morning and we were headed on a raid. I was the lead gunner and about half asleep when all of a sudden something nails me in the face. It was a damn bat. Also scared the beep out of me.
I was roofied. My drink was right next to me and I must have taken my eyes off of it for 3, maybe 5 seconds at the most. I'm lucky, because the second I started to feel weird, I called my brother who happened to be working across the street and he came and got me so nothing ever happened to me. But it's terrifying to think of what could have happened, who did it, and why.
My daughter was born. I check on her multiple times a night and there's been a few times I didn't feel her breathing. Talk about terrifying.
Being cold called in math class.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to subscribe to Upvote for the best quality content every day.